The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, welcome and thanks for joining us today. I'm Matt Carey and I'm from Soft Solutions. I'm the Communications and Continuity Solutions Manager here. Also with me today is Carl Thomson, who is StorageCraft's lead sales engineer. Today we're going to be looking at StorageCraft's Office 365 and G Suite backup, and going to look at some of the details around the importance of actually having a backup for the cloud. We're seeing increased partners, especially in New Zealand, moving away from having servers on-prem, moving systems into the cloud, and Office 365 is one of those big ones. And StorageCraft has a fantastic solution to support these partners. Today's session is being recorded, and please note that we also have some handouts available. Please feel free to ask any questions as we go along, and with that, I'll hand you off to Karl.
Cool, thanks, man. So, along with myself is Andrew Martin, Business Development Manager. So we're both based in Auckland. We travel around New Zealand frequently with the Soft Solutions team. So feel free to reach out to us or Soft Solutions from any queries on today's webinar. As Matt mentioned, feel free to ask questions. Everyone is muted, so please just use the questions pane and then we'll come and visit that at the end. And I have included some handouts that you can download, just based on what you'll see today. So we're focused on the StorageCraft Cloud Backup solution today. This is a cloud-to-cloud solution for backing up Office 365 and G Suite. I just would like to start with a couple of slides on addressing the importance of backing up this data, and then we'll go and look at some of the features of our solution, and then I'll take you through a live demonstration. So I think we've got half an hour. As Matt mentioned, it is recorded, so if you've got any questions, please ask, and again, we will send out the video afterwards. So why do you need to back up Office 365? And obviously a lot of these things will be applicable for G Suite as well. So 5 key reasons I thought I'd kick off the webinar with today. So really, there's millions of businesses over the world that people are moving into Office 365, and it's fantastic. We're getting high availability, we're getting geographical redundancy, but if you think about when we used to run an Exchange server on-prem, we used to back that up. And if someone deletes some stuff, and then all of a sudden we want to get it back, or something gets corrupted, a document particularly in SharePoint or OneDrive, that kind of thing, we want to get it back. And so you need to back it up. There's obviously retention available within Office 365 that might suffice for some of those requirements. But if someone's planning to leave the business, they might delete their stuff. So, you need to think about including a backup. And we're coming across more and more partners in New Zealand now that will not sell Office 365 unless they're including a backup solution for it as well. So it's really important. We've done it in the past. It doesn't go away just because we've shifted it into the cloud. So number one, the human factor. So you've been working on a file and you're changing things around, and then you realize, you've deleted the wrong thing. So, without having a backup there, what do? Do you call Microsoft? Their product doesn't include a backup solution, or it's very limited, and that's a big thing to consider. And particularly with things like SharePoint, there's no granular recovery there that's very accessible. So I've come across partners that have had to call Microsoft and get the SharePoint library restored. It's taken 3 days to do it, but they've restored the whole SharePoint library and the whole thing's reverted back. So they've lost changes in between. And that's really important as well. Just think about the human factor. What's something that someone could do that's a mistake that they just want to go back to a previous version very quickly? The hackers. So obviously there's numerous scenarios here, and it might be that your tenancy, your Office 365 tenancy gets targeted. It might be that, staff are now using their own devices and they're working from home and their computer gets infected after hours or on the weekends when someone's using it, and that then targets that SharePoint stuff, ransomware. All of that stuff's still applicable. And, now with things like OneDrive and SharePoint so accessible online, from anywhere in the world, this is it's a big risk that this stuff could be attacked and targeted. The employee that leaves. Now, this is a pretty big one. I mean, I've left organizations in the past, not intentionally, but I've just gone and deleted, probably focused on my personal emails, but, I've deleted stuff. And the risk is someone could just delete their whole inbox and their sent items and everything. And if you don't react within that sort of 30 or 60-day retention that Microsoft offer, then that stuff's gone for good. And sometimes it takes longer than that to onboard a new staff member until you realize that there's things that are missing. So being able to roll back really quickly or get that stuff back. Obviously, another key factor here is when someone leaves, it's quite common to delete that mailbox in Office 365 to free up that license, right? So that we don't keep paying for it. I know a lot of my partners will actually just convert them to shared mailboxes because they're free. But things you have to consider there is if I deleted stuff or if the person had deleted stuff before you did that. Secondly, when you convert someone to a shared mailbox, you lose their OneDrive and their associated documents there. So that's another thing. We're having a backup solution in place. We can just rapidly get that stuff back. So that's really important to have fast, granular access to recover. And you'll see how awesome that is with the StorageCraft solution shortly. Employee gone rogue. So we've actually I've faced this in a business about 4 years ago. A staff member was leaving and deleted a whole bunch of stuff off a shared drive. Now, and today that could have been in SharePoint or it could have been in a shared OneDrive. And so that's important as well, is if someone deletes stuff, again, it might take some time to realize that something's happening. But we need to quickly get back in through backup and recover that. So that's really important. And these are, basic things that we've always had. And then another one here, the mishaps. So, this one's particularly talking about apps, is there's apparently now a lot of apps that can start causing problems with other apps or corrupting stuff, or, I don't know whether it fits in with the targeted hacker-based scenario, but you can run into issues where things can go wrong. And if you don't have a backup solution, you're at risk, or the customer's at risk. And again, they might not know it, but there's been scenarios now where people have been in Office 365, they've experienced issues multiple times, and they're actively looking for a solution. And then there's still a lot of people that are going to Office 365, and some of them, particularly heavily compliance regulated ones, are saying, well, look, actually, I need to have a solution in place before I can start that migration. And then the other big thing is obviously the notifiable data breaches are starting to come into effect. And part of that is protecting yourselves and having backups and all of this stuff. So we've just gone through this in Australia, and it's going to be another big thing. And a lot of information is going to come out about these requirements and making sure that people are geared up to protect themselves. So, in conclusion, you need to consider, for scenarios such as mistakes or security, disgruntled employees, apps, things like this, you need to consider having a solution in place. So let's take a quick look from the StorageCraft perspective at what we have in place. On our website, under Products, Cloud-Based Protection, we've got here Cloud Backup for Office 365 and G Suite. So just this page here, I thought I'd just flick through because it's got the key features listed out here pretty easily. So the first one is cloud-to-cloud backup. So this is really important, and this is a massive feature. So what happens is our cloud based in Tier 3 data center in Sydney next DC will talk directly to your Office 365 tenancy with secure APIs. So we'll do a backup every 8 hours, so that's 3 times a day. Our cloud will index the contents of that backup. It will then by default store it in our S3 storage based in Australia. Okay, so that's the default storage. You can also choose, and we can sell it to you at a discounted price to leverage your own Azure storage instead. But the cool thing is you don't need to provision any software on-prem. You don't need to worry about bandwidth. It's all handled in the cloud, which is really easy. Security and availability, so our APIs, it's all over HTTPS, so it's an encrypted transmission. We're in a Tier 3 data center with high resiliency. We're at 99.999% uptime. It's all secured, and then obviously we store it secured in NS3 bucket or back into your secure Azure storage. It's up to you. So by having this in a single portal, it offers one-stop management. So you'll be able to log in. It's fully multi-tenancy, so your end user customers can log in and search just their tenancy. And that flips over to that next point, the searching. So this is probably the most powerful part of our solution. In fact, we're selling a lot of cloud backup to customers that aren't even interested in the backup. They're more interested in the search for EDiscovery. So because we index each backup on the fly, you'll see in my demonstration that you can search within seconds across the whole tenancy for a PO, a contractor's name, a document. It's very powerful searching, but because it's pre-indexed, it's rapid. Within seconds, you get a response, and within seconds, again, you can have that item recovered. So really important. That ties nicely into the recovery. It's just instant recovery. The API call pulls it out of S3 or Azure and then straight back into your Office 365 or G Suite. So really easy. And then we back that up with full reporting, auditing, export reports, that kind of stuff. So really comprehensive solution, and I think that, you know, by all being in the cloud makes it really easy. Now, right down the bottom is some tech info and data sheets. So I've attached a bunch of these to the webinar today. So if you're watching this on YouTube later, you can just come to the StorageCraft website to grab them as well. So without further ado, let's jump across into the StorageCraft partner portal. So in here, if you're not already registered with the partner portal, or more specifically as a managed service provider of StorageCraft MSP, that's what Soft Solutions can help you with. They'll sign you up. Once you log in under Cloud Backup, that's the solution that we're talking about today. So in here, I get a dashboard that shows me my total number of accounts provisioned for Office 365 and G Suite, the total users and seats. And obviously this is what the billing's going to be based on. But if we dig further into accounts, by default, every one of our resellers will have an NFR account, but this is where you can simply go in and add new customers. So you just put in the customer name. By default, as I mentioned, it will use StorageCraft's S3 storage, which we provide as unlimited. Otherwise, you can put in your own Azure account details, and we've got a document that explains how to do this in more detail. But that will help you. You know, if you've got Azure credits, or you know you've got a deal there, we obviously can discount our licensing based on you using your own Azure storage instead. So you create an account. Now I've gone into the NFR account. Obviously for each account, you then get a summary based on that particular account on what's been active. So I've actually got 2 Office 365s and a G Suite tenancy all registered into this one account. The next thing you might do is under settings is you can add in end users or users that can log into our portal and just see their one tenancy. They don't see all of the other MSP associated stuff. So that can actually be driven by cloudbackup.storagecraft.com. This is just, again, the same login will actually work on our partner portal page as well, but this is more tailored for the end user. They can just log in here and they will just see their tenancy within our program rather than any of your other customers. So then under warnings and notifications, you can have a user listed here to receive any alerts. And as an MSP, obviously we've got an option to delete the account if we no longer want to have it anymore. So following from there, yourself or the end user can then go into services and add in an Office 365 account. So we just need the admin email and password. It actually doesn't have to be the admin person. You can actually have a separate non-licensed account, and then our user guide will talk through setting up the appropriate application impersonation rights, etc. as well. So actually, let's just take a quick look at that. If I go to support.storagecraft.com, and this will be a good way for you to see me navigate the new support site. I'm going to click on StorageCraft Cloud Backup. And then what I'm going to look up is the StorageCraft Backup User Guide, Cloud Backup User Guide. And in here, in particular, I'm looking at creating and configuring Cloud Backup accounts. And then within here, I'm going to look predominantly at the Office 365 one. Today is going to be my key focus. And I'm just going to scroll down here to preparing Office 365 for StorageCraft Cloud Backup. So the key thing that the user needs to have is impersonation rights. There's 14 steps to do that here. It'll only take you a minute. But making sure that that account you're using with the Cloud Backup has full impersonation rights gives us access across all mailboxes. Additionally, just further down, there's 10 steps there to set up the SharePoint Site Collection Administrator. So again, that just makes sure that the backup account has got access across SharePoint so that we can get in and back up all those documents. So continuing on from here, if we jump back to the partner portal, here I have got an Office 365 account that pulls across the admin user we've specified, and then you need to enter in the root SharePoint URL. So the root SharePoint is then going to go through and back up every sub SharePoint account. The key thing to note right now is if we just scroll up here, we've got a little list which shows which is included in Cloud Backup for Office 365. So if we include personal, shared, and resource mailboxes, all documents in individuals OneDrive for Business, and at the moment just the SharePoint online document libraries. So on the right here, the site pages, list, templates, and assets and collections, those are not currently included in StorageCraft Cloud Backup. We are working with Microsoft on some new APIs. I believe that we have most of those APIs, but Microsoft aren't going live with them until I think September or October this year, 2018. So just bear in mind, keep an eye on this user guide to verify what the Microsoft API limitations are today. But the key thing is the SharePoint online document libraries are the key one that most people are wanting to back up anyway. So the next step is to tick use the administrative account as the site administrator for OneDrive, so you can enable that. And then you can enable automatically add new Office 365 users. So user is, someone with a shared mailbox, a resource mailbox, or a personal mailbox. That becomes a user. Each one of those is licensed by StorageCraft as a licensed user that we will charge. Now, the services are all inclusive. So calendar, contact, mail, OneDrive, and SharePoint. There's no extra licensing. They're all enabled by default. You can turn them off if you don't want them. Now, on the middle section here for the users, and I'll just show you that G Suite looks very similar. It's got similar options: calendar, contact, mail, drive, and sites. So you enable that. This is all hooked in through the Google Marketplace. So you basically just go add G Suite. It takes you through the Google Marketplace, gets you to log in, and uses a StorageCraft Cloud Backup app to then link these users back through. So again, just focusing on Office 365 today. The first thing you do with the user list is you've got options to select all. So you can see here I've got 2 pages. I mean, there's only 10 per page. So select all just selects everything. Or you could go select all on page, or you could just individually select or deselect users that you want to include in the backup. Now, if I select a particular user, I'm going to focus on Karl. This is sort of my account. This is actually the admin as well. But I can see here when the last backup was completed. So that was at 9:21 this morning, so just a couple of hours ago. So again, it does it every 8 hours automatically. I have the option to unselect a user if I don't want to pay StorageCraft to keep backing that up. We will, at no charge, keep all historical backups for that user. So if we do unselect someone, we will retain all previous backups. At any time, you can come in here and click Restore User. You need to choose the tenancy you want to restore to. Select, the user, and it might be someone else. If that person's left, you might be restoring it to someone else. And then you just simply choose the date that will roll that account back to. That will restore the data for. And then the services. So for mail, contacts, and calendars, we'll basically create a folder in the root of the mailbox and restore the existing directory tree within that folder. So within there, you'll see mail, sent items, inbox, etc. within that folder, and every existing folder structure will be there. So we don't do it in place, we put it into a separate folder, and 9 times out of 10 this makes it far easier. Someone can see exactly what was restored. You could put your name or the date in this folder name as well. So very customizable. Now, very similar for the documents. So in the root of this person's target OneDrive or the root of the SharePoint, we will create a folder based on the folder name, and then the existing folder structure will be restored within there. So very easy. It makes it easy to find it, and then you can drag and drop or restore it back to wherever you wish. Now, again, that's for a full user restore, so not that common. It might be common just to restore the documents if you converted someone to a shared mailbox and you want to get the OneDrive back, I guess. But really the power is in the search. So if I go over to search here, basically up here we've got the search parameters. Now, just if I flick back to the user guide, advanced searching, just to show you, we've got some pretty cool advanced search terms you can use to get very complex on the searching and narrow results down. So we've got to, sender, subject, receive date, content, contacts, documents, events. So there's a whole bunch of parameters you can use in the search field to really reduce what you're looking for. Now, for example, I could do something silly like search hello. I always demonstrate this one. So if I go search, I'm searching my whole tenancy. In fact, I'm actually searching all 3 tenancies that I've got in here at the moment for the word hello. So it's quite a silly thing to search for, and you can see I've found 600 items, and I'd suggest that's extremely small. I mean, these are just very small demo tenancies here, but I've found 600 items. I'd suggest it could be in the vicinity of millions of items for a typical business. So obviously that's not that helpful, and by using advanced searching terms, I could limit it to particular title, subject, etc. But then, you might want to limit it by date range or snapshot date or services. So services are basically the tenancies. So obviously I'm searching across 2 Office 365s and a G Suite tenancy in here. The type would be like document, email, event, contact. So every time you select something to filter, it's reducing the results down to something that's going to be more meaningful. So I might search and limit this to someone. I'll just limit it to myself, to Karl. So again, each time I filter, I'm getting that results down to 200 now. And then I might limit it by the collection. So the collection is really going to be a folder. So in the SharePoint document library or in the user's mailbox, etc. So I could say, just show me the inbox items. But again, everything I filter, I'm now actually down to 1 result. So, if I'd searched for a PO that was in the content of an email or a contractor's name that was in the send in the to or the from field, we could very quickly see what someone's looking for. And because this is multi-tenancy, the customer can log in and do these own searches themselves. It's very fast. Myself as an admin, it's none of my business what that email is. So by default, I've selected that and it's graded out. Obviously, I could view it. That would then get audited to say that I looked at it. I could download it as an EML file, or I could restore it straight back into a user's mailbox. So if I click restore, it's selected that tenancy by default. I need to type in a user, so I'll punch in Karl. And then just give that a second to propagate. And then I might call this SoftSol123 and click restore. So that's basically it. Within a couple of seconds, I've done a search. I've got a little pop-up here, restore has started. If I jump across to the mailbox, I can see there that SoftSol folder is literally just being created. If I refresh the browser, it will probably just reload the subs folder within that. There's a go inbox, and there's my email. So that was the email that I've restored. It restored the inbox, and there obviously from this point I could drag or drop or restore that to wherever. So very fast, very easy. We don't restore it in place. If I've got 100 emails in here, I'll never find it if it put it back in here. So I find it really cool that it creates a separate folder and then keeps the same folder tree within that. So really nice. But yeah, that's the search. Now, if I had a whole heap of search options, so if I just kind of take off some of these filters, there might be a bunch of stuff I want to restore, for example. There's 200 items here. So I could do a bulk action to restore all match and query, or I could just select a couple of emails. And then I can either download them or restore them back into a particular user. If I go export all match and query, that actually zips them up. So if I click that now, that'll zip up all these emails. You can see that at the top, the export started, and then that's available from a report for me to download. So really easy. The documents are downloaded in their natural format. Emails are downloaded as EMLs, and contacts and calendars are just the original format. We don't download the PSTs. We see there's no real need to, because we can just restore straight back into the mailbox rather than trying to export it and store it on-prem. The whole idea is that this just all stays in the cloud and easy to search and recover from. So over in reports, I've got the backup reports here. These two don't look good, they're all red, but basically I've got a couple of tenancies which don't exist anymore in here, and that's why. So I can see the main one is Office 365, SharePoint, Calendar, Contact, Mail, and OneDrive. They're all completed. It shows me when the last backup was. My G Suite, I've got the Google Sites is inactivated here. But this top tenancy here, no access to provided. That's why they're showing it's failed for my one. But if I scroll down, I then get the user log of each individual user, the start and completed time. So yeah, really easy from the reporting. Under restore, this allows me to see all the restores I've done. So I can see there, that's the email that we just restored just moments ago. You can actually match up that point in time with the audit report, so I can see actually who was even logged in and who did that. So under audit, it audits everything. Now, obviously, I'm in a funny NFR account here. There's the time that I did the export, there's the searches I did, there's the restore, and there's a bunch more. So every search I do is auditable, and I can get more details on there. I can see who did it, and obviously where I actually restored something, I can link that up to the restore report that we just saw. So that's really cool. And then the final one is the export report. So in here, we can see here at 11:24 a.m. this morning, it has zipped up that export report. So I can download that as a zip file, or I can come in here and delete it and say, finished with that now. So yeah, really comprehensive, really easy, instant search and recovery. The EDiscovery is massive as well. So, with Office 365, if you want to try and find something, you have to use PowerShells to kick off an EDiscovery index. You have to wait for that to be finished, which can take considerable time. And then you've got to use more PowerShell to then try and figure out how to restore those files. The same thing with something like litigation hold. StorageCraft Cloud Backup won't replace litigation hold because that keeps everything. Obviously, we're only backing up every 8 hours here, but litigation hold's not that easy to search and find something, and it's certainly across a whole tenancy like this can do is not all there. So this is a very great complementary solution to give you instant search, granular recovery across your whole Office 365 or G Suite set of products. So yeah, I think that's really covered off everything in terms of a demo. If anyone wants to see anything further, again, please take the opportunity to type in any questions, and I'm happy to cover that off. Let's just have a quick look. Someone's asked here, Rob, do you back up archive mailboxes? So no, at the moment we don't back up the archive mailboxes. We'll just back up the primary mailbox. So we'll back up the primary mailbox, and then if that user is associated to any shared or resource mailboxes, they will be included as well, or otherwise any additional shared mailboxes, you can select them as separate users. But yeah, no, it's not. I guess the thing with archive mailboxes is that if you've rolled out a customer with this solution, they haven't started using the archive yet. Once it gets moved into archive, we've already backed that data up. So obviously for existing tenancies, it's not going to go in there and grab that additional archive stuff. I think it's, again, a lot of these things are limited a little bit by the Microsoft APIs that we can use. It might be something we can look into in the future, but at the moment, yeah, it's not going to include the archive mailboxes. It also, one of the other things on the previous page we're on with Office 365 that kind of points out a lot of the stuff in a graph is it won't include public folders at the moment either. But as I mentioned, there are some new APIs we're working on. I think it's around September, October timeframe. We're looking to include Teams and other functions as well. So anyone that's using it now will get upgraded with that extra functionality, which will be pretty cool. So yeah, just watch this space for some further improvements there. Okay, no other questions. So again, thank you for your time today. Hopefully this has been a good demo. If you've got any questions outside of this today, please just reach out directly to Matt or myself. But thanks again for coming along. Matt, have you got any final words to add in today?
No, that was fantastic. Thank you, Karl. Thank you everyone for attending.
Cool, awesome. All right, well, we'll send out the recording and it will be up on our YouTube channel as well. Thanks again.
Thank you.